Let's have a look at the Mail.
Yeah.
Right. Oxfam has lost the plot. They've got an inclusivity guide that they've released, 92 pages in all, and there's some stuff which will get people's goats, you know, about...
Are you allowed to say goats? Isn't that being disparaging to a hoofed animal?
I wanted to look at some of the stuff that is slightly less obvious.
Yeah.
Right, and away from all the gender stuff, which you know, obviously was its own thing. You can't say black market. You've got to say informal economy, because informal economy avoids negative connotations and is a clear and accurate description.
That one jumps out at me.
But black market, it avoids negative connotations.
Yeah.
There are negative connotations to black market. It's the point of it.
Yeah, as a label for a tax avoiding under-the-counter, backhanded kind of a way to carry on. What they're saying is you can't refer to it as a black market because that makes it, you know, using the word black is wrong in that because it's suggesting black is bad. Oh, I'm not suggesting black is bad, are you? I'm not saying that. To me, they're actually making themselves a laughing stock because they're kind of saying black is inferior, black is bad, and we're not saying that.
No, when you get into with our money, when you get into the black, you're doing all right.
Yeah, and you can't say anymore BAME, mixed race. I know coloured's been offensive for some time, but I don't see the difference between coloured and people of colour.
No.
I would never call somebody a person of colour because it just puts everybody into the same bag. So they're recommending that. I wouldn't.
But you see that they are recommending people of colour, person of colour, or Indigenous and people of colour. But then they go on to say people of colour is critiqued as being problematic as it is othering to anyone who is not white.
Yeah.
And reinforces the idea of whiteness as standard. So they say they don't like people of colour, but we should use that. I mean, why don't you just say mixed race? Or...
You can use, though, I thought this was a wrong word to use because how would you define it? So I've avoided it for years. Indigenous.
Oh, really?
So they're saying you should be using Indigenous rather than...
They say that's OK, yeah.
Well, what's Indigenous? So are you more Indigenous than Ellie with her Irish...
Irish
heritage.
Definitely.
Am I more Indigenous than Ellie, who my Irishness is a generation older? So am I more Indigenous?
Where's the line?
And you can't use ethnic minority. You've got to say minority ethnic person.
There's some really silly ones, like headquarters.
Yeah.
They don't want you to use headquarters anymore. Instead, you've got to name the specific office location because it implies a power dynamic to prioritise one office over the other.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I'm in GBNews headquarters. How about this one? You can't say biological male or female now. You've got to say assigned female, male at birth.
Assigned at birth?
Yeah.
Which they helpfully do AFAB and AMAB.
Right.
As assigned female or male at birth.
And you can't have... not to use LGBT or any of the longer ones anymore.
No, you can use it, but, well... you see, this I find very confusing. So you can't say LGBT or LGBTQIX.
Yeah.
I don't know what X is. You can't say gay or lesbian. You should instead use LGBTQIA+. Now, come on. Come on. I mean, that's like... They also say it's important to note that some people consider the plus to indicate others not explicitly covered in this acronym to be insufficient, but they include it anyway.
Elderly's out, right? You can't say somebody's elderly anymore. You can say they're an elderly person, though.
Well,
And you can't say somebody's deaf. You can say people with hearing impairment. Well, I know that because it used to be on Great Portland Street. Used to walk past it going down to the BBC. It used to be the Royal Institute for the Deaf. And they changed that 20 years ago. So
Oxfam's... What's wrong with being deaf?
And you can't be poor either.
Oh.
You can't say poor people. You've got to say people experiencing poverty.
Yeah, or living within poverty.
And get this one. You can't say mission because it infers colonialism, a trip to lower-income countries, whereas a trip to New York, for example, though you can't use field visit because that insinuates you're going to an inferior country.
Oh, Tom Cruise is going to be furious.
Yeah,
What's he going to do for Mission Impossible?
Yeah, but so mission, you can't use that because it's like, you know, in the old days when we used to send priests to Africa. But people go on, look at all those missions, trade missions that Liz Truss went on.
Yeah.
Rishi Sunak's just been to America to discuss this deal with the Americans building submarines for Australia. Is that not a trade mission anymore?
So. I mean, look, I can see what they're trying to do, and I'm sure it's done with the best intentions. That's me being generous, but it's crackers, sadly. You know, it's just a step too far. They overstep the boundaries.
Yeah.